Hi and welcome to this video. In this video, we will learn about module, package, and standard library in Python. Now, each of these are actually very important concepts when you are building real-world projects using Python. So without waiting much, let's start. When we were discussing about functions, we talk about the property of functions that it helps in making the code more reusable. If you remember this example of circles, we want to calculate the area of different circles with different radius, and instead of writing the duplicate code multiple times, we just created a single function, which is this area underscore circle, and just keep on passing the input to the function, which was the radius. For each radius, it was able to give us areas like this. So functions help us making the code more reusable, but to an extent. There is a catch when working with functions. And that catch is functions cannot be used outside the file or program in which they have been defined. Let's see this example in Jupyter Notebook. So I have the Jupyter Notebook and I have defined the same function to calculate the area. Let me run this function. If I try to call this function from another cell in the same notebook with some value of radius, say 1, the function works. So I get an area. Similarly, for different values of radius, it still works. So anywhere in this notebook, you can call this function and it will work. Now let's see what happens if I'm trying to call this function in another notebook. So I'll create a new notebook by clicking here plus sign, and then I will choose here Python 3. So now we have a new notebook. So I'll again try to call the same function, which is area underscore circle with radius 6. And let's see what happens when I run this line of code. Now Python throws an error saying that the name area underscore circle is not defined, which is exactly a very spot on error. It basically says that the Python was not able to find any function with this name inside this file. And that's true, because we have defined this function in another file, so this is actually a problem. Now let's see how can we handle this problem. We have now established that functions cannot be used outside the file or program in which they are defined. But in real-world programming, you might want to reuse the same piece of code again and again if that makes sense. So we want to use a function defined in a file in multiple other files if the need arises to. Let us see how can you do this by working with the concept of module in Python. So what is a module? Suppose you want to solve a task of all the arithmetic operations in Python. Now, in order to solve this task, what do you need? There are certain subtasks associated with this, like addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. So you can write all the functions for these subtasks. Bundle all of these functions in this one file known as arithmetic.py. And this is essentially what makes your module. A module is nothing but a Python file in which you write all the functions, variables, or any code that are like subtasks focusing on the following one main task. So just like a module for all the arithmetic operations, you can also have a module for all the logical operations. And you can clearly see that now the subtasks are AND operation, OR operation, NOT operation, and so on. So this is a basic concept of module in Python. Let's now move to the Jupyter Notebook and see how we can fix our earlier problem of function. So this is our problem. We have this function, area underscore circle. It's only working in this Jupyter Notebook. And when I'm trying to use it in another Jupyter Notebook, it gives an error. In order to solve this problem, we will create a module in Python. Now, as we have seen, a module is nothing but just a .py file with a code written in it. So let's create a file. I'll go to Jupyter File and then click on New and then choose from here text file. And here by right click, I will rename this file. I will choose circle, and for the extension we will use py, and then we click on rename. So circle is name of my module. Now what I will do is I will just copy paste this code here and then paste it in our .py file, and I will save this file and save it. So now we have made our first module. Let's try to see if this module solves the problem. So we are back to the same Jupyter notebook. As you can see, we are not able to access the area_circle function. Now I'll try to use the concept of module that we have just created to reuse this function. So I will simply import the module first. I will use import function and I will type the module name and then run this. So we have not got any error, so that's a good thing. And now what we will do is, we will say I want to reuse this function area_circle from this module. And what I'm going to do is I will first type the name of the module dot and then the function name. And in the parentheses, the radius. And now we will run this. And as you see, the function is now working and then calculates an area for us. So here, simply by writing circle, we are calling the module. And here in the second part, we are calling the function of this module. Now we are able to reuse this code again and again. And we can do this same step for all the different files in which you want this piece of code to be reused. So this was the concept of module in a nutshell. Next, now that you know that a module is responsible for specific tasks like arithmetic operations or logical operations, etc., the next logical question is, what if you have multiple modules that belong to the same domain of task? For example, all the modules about arithmetic, logical, and comparison operation can come under a more generic domain of operator that deals with any operation that is possible in Python. But this is exactly what a package represents in Python. Using a package, you can group similar modules. Now that we have talked about module and packages in Python, let's just quickly recap how they are related. So we know that a module can have multiple functions or any piece of code that is required to solve the task that the module is responsible for. So you have function 1, function 2, function 3. And if you have multiple related modules like module name 2, module name 3, so these are multiple related modules, and then you can combine them into one package, and this is what a package is in Python. A package is essentially a collection of modules that are related, and a module can be thought of a collection of functions and some variables in code that are related to solve this task. So now that you have a good idea about what a package is, let's learn more about it. In Python, we have two types of packages. The first one is Python standard library, and the second one is user-defined packages. Now this is where I want to give you a remark that in Python the term package and library is used quite interchangeably. So if you go online or if you see discussion or if you try to look at documentations, you will see that a package is often referred to as a library and library is often referred to as a package. So what is Python standard library? Now the Python standard library is a package that contains all the bare minimum functionality that Python supports by default. The major features that Python standard library provides are, first of all, it defines a lot of building functions that you can use for your program. Some of these like print, max, minimum, etc., which we have already used so far in the course. Second, it also defines built-in constants like false, true, none, etc. And this is the same thing that we have already seen before. Apart from this, Python standard library also defines a set of data type in float, boolean, and string. And the file formats that Python can work with by default. So you have CSV, Excel, HDF5, and so on. Apart from all these and data type, Python standard library also comes with a set of useful modules. Each of these modules dealing with certain tasks that you can perform using Python. So you have OS, RE, datetime, med, and etc. So in the next video, we will learn more about standard libraries or packages for business analytics. Thank you for watching this video.